and save Billy's wife and her child from their head soup, Homelander. Season 2 also introduces the latest Vought hero, Stormfront, who turns out to be an actual century-old Nazi.
Those ADM6s look tough, but they're not invulnerable if you have a daring, resourceful,
If it seems like The Boys is full of people espousing disingenuous politics and posturing for the cameras, it's because the show goes to great lengths to show us how almost every character is constantly performing. After all, it's not enough to simply be a hero in this world. You have to play a hero too. Superheroes star in movies.
Title card, Dawn of the Seven.
Go on talk show circuits.
Stormfront, congrats on the 7. Are you as excited to be here as I am?
I don't know. I don't think so.
And even give those lame midnight religious info reviews.
But thanks to the Church of the Collective, I now know the kind of man I want to be. Hey, dude, that's not cool.
Heck, even when they're not on the screen, they worry about public approval ratings.
So,
and fastidiously try to keep their personal selves in check.
Oh my god. Stage manage. Life isn't actually a PR strategy. You can say what you think.
And it's not just our superheroes who are constantly putting on the show. Whether it's Becca playing Alice Socially as Superman, or Congresswoman Victoria Newman whipping her face into a frenzy, every character seems to put on a mask at one time or another. So here's the question, Wisecrack. What do you think happens when these deliberate performances collide with hot-button social issues? Well, we've got a term for you. Virtue signaling. Now, before you smash that dislike button, hear me out. Virtue signaling is a term that gets thrown around to suggest that people are disingenuously engaging in social issues, not out of genuine concern, but to promote their own self-image. While it's certainly a real phenomenon, it's basically become a catch-all term to call anyone who cares about anything fraud. One might say that even my discussion of virtue signaling is itself some kind of signal of virtue about how wise I am in an effort to make Wisecrack seem Trey woke. And then if you get mad at that and tweet about it, your righteous indignation could itself be some virtue to your impassioned fans. The point is, it's very easy to call just about anything virtue signaling. It's also often, but not always, a lazy and incoherent argument. And it's confusing because we live in a world where we don't trust anyone to stand for anything for the right reasons. And The Boys take this confusion head on. The Boys is centrally concerned not with how ordinary people display social issues, but how corporations do. In turn, it explores how ordinary people end up consuming information about those ideas. In Season 1, for instance, Vought rebrands their hero, Starlight, as a feminist icon.
she embraces her feminine strength.
Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
And hello, Starlight.
Except, well, their brand of female empowerment through sexuality isn't exactly what the budding superhero had in mind. Vought doesn't care. They're more concerned with the image of an empowered woman that people can also ogle than, you know, actually empowering anyone.
Most importantly, it tells the story of your transformation, of what you're going through.
How exactly do you know what I'm doing? Exactly.
AKA virtue signaling. The Starlight rebranding helps their bottom line rather than any feminist cause. A similar conflict happens in Season 2. Homelander maliciously outs Queen Maeve.
Who in the 7 is gay?
Queen Maeve.
Revealing her ex-girlfriend, whom Maeve is then forced to pretend is her current lover. Vought reimagines Maeve's forced outing in their film Dawn of the Seven as a wholesome coming-out story, complete with a cliched love interest in the form of a counterculture computer hacker.
I'm afraid to show the world who I am. Yeah? So who are you, Maeve? I'm gay.
After establishing Maeve as a queer icon, Vought capitalizes on it. This.
Brave Maeve rises because you can't be proud on an empty stomach.
It's worth noting that while Maeve bars are sadly fictitious, this whole using someone's identity for profit is a fairly common advertising strategy. While your head of digital marketing may genuinely care about, say, racism, their message is still getting filtered through the lens of what's going to make us the money. As a result, most companies only support social issues after they become massively popular and therefore safe. Like how shampoo conglomerate L'Oreal posted about standing with the black community this summer, despite, alright, apparently ending their partnership with a model in 2017 because she spoke out against white supremacy. And filtering social issues through the lens of profit isn't just massively annoying. It can actively harm people. Take Maeve's sexuality.
You know Maeve is bi, right?
I don't like how close that
Yeah, you
ATM
know what? I
6 is
just feel like
getting.
lesbian is a bit of an easier sell, but more cut and dry.
Clearly, Vaught's preoccupation with gay rights is just another sales tactic, not an earnest commitment to celebrating Maeve for who she actually is. The company then tries to overhaul the image of Maeve's pretend partner, Elena, so she can better conform to the stereotype of what a lesbian should look like.
It looks like menswear.
Pew research shows that too feminine women in a relationship sends a problematic
That
message.
ATM
This is
6
the
full.
danger of virtue signaling as marketing
It's
strategy. It
up
puts a
to you then.
corporate-friendly face on social causes, thus obscuring the actual reality. People are then bombarded with images that reinforce the big business version of reality. And this sort of corporate do-gooding often provides a useful and deliberate distraction from a given business's less savory practices. This is well documented in Fran Hawthorne's Ethical Chic. In Vaught's case, all the feminism and gay pride distracts people from the reality that the company is a private military contractor with a less than stellar human rights record. In this way, we might better appreciate the boys' most glorious jab at Marvel. For context, in Season 2, Vaught is going all in on female empowerment with her new PR campaign, Girls Get It Done.
Can you tell us a little about how girls get it done?
Girls get it done.
Girls get it done.
Girls get it done.
The idea is that since there have never been 3 women in the 7 before, now's the time to cash in on not being sexist anymore. But for all the congratulatory talk, female empowerment is pretty much the exact opposite of what Vought is actually about. For starters, its newest film, The Dawn of the Seven, isn't exactly concerned with portraying realistic female characters.
Do you rate all women as either unknowable Hitchcock bitches or Michael Bay dolls? I mean, I get that a lifetime of jerking off to Transformers didn't exactly make you popular with the ladies, but a little effort would be nice.
That's a literal Nazi saying this. And it's not like the company has embraced girl power off the screen either. Recall our coerced into spandex Starlight.
I'm fine with my old outfit.
All of which brings us to that Marvel scene. To summarize, there is one very notable moment in Avengers Endgame when Peter Parker asks Captain Marvel how she plans to get past the incoming onslaught of Batman. In response, the Scarlet Witch and Okoye hop in and say,
Don't worry.
She's got help.
as more female heroes swoop in to help. When I saw it, tons of kids ate because Marvel was finally letting their female heroes shine. But for more jaded adults, this all felt a little forced. Exactly the kind of corporate feminism that we become wary of. And the boys seem to agree, mimicking Marvel's scene in The Dawn of the Seven.
How are you gonna get through all of them?
Don't worry. Girls get it done.
Much like Vought celebrates their Girls Get It Done after years of being a total boys club, Marvel's scene is a weird victory lap for a company that waited a whole decade before putting out its first standalone female superhero film, Captain Marvel, which also happens to be a movie that many have called the thinly veiled recruitment tool for the Air Force.
You're so cool.
And that's not by accident. The U.S. military has often exerted editorial influence over movies like Top Gun or Captain Marvel in exchange for access to sick tanks and planes. The result? A scrappy but not too rough around the edges hero who can be turned both into a toy line and an advertisement for the U.S. military.
That sense of humor mixed with total capability and whatever challenge comes her way is really what Air Force pilots are like.
The kind of hero who would never, ever do something like kick a person while they're down and yell. See, in the brand-safe virtue signaling realm of corporate social justice, everything has to play well with a large audience. And so all the corporations who sponsor pride parades want to ignore that the first Pride was actually a riot incited by police brutality, or how those who vaguely stand against hate on Instagram never want to go into the details about what that actually means. But The Boys does. It looks like this. 3 women giving a bloody beatdown to a literal Nazi.
Yes, do get it done.
Also, congrats, Marvel. You've been roasted. Now, a common problem with the way the word virtue signaling gets thrown around is that the term seems exclusively used against the left. So a sensible question would be, is virtue signaling confined to the liberal sphere? And the answer to that is absolutely not. We just don't usually think about it in those terms. To see what I mean, let's look at the king of conservative virtue signaling himself, Homelander. If virtue signaling is the invocation of issues and values that is self-interest rather than genuine concern, then this is Homelander's patriotism to a T. The dude does not give a about America or American citizens. but he goes to great lengths to seem like he has a raging hard-on for the troops in the land of the free.
Oh, and you guys. You are the real heroes.
Not only that, our sociopathic soup is very careful to invoke all those cheesy patriotic platitudes when addressing crowds.
And introduce it to a little thing called God's judgment!
Allied reinforcements! Top of that's on site!
Sounds like the American thing to do!
This rhetoric, we might add, is common to all politicians, but especially those on the right.
If you serve with our amazing soldiers like I have, you would know that freedom comes at a price.
Of course, this is the same guy who downed a whole airliner of American civilians before casually flying off and letting them sink to their watery graves. To see how shallow all this patriotic posturing really is, you need only to look at what gets Homelander upset. Not the deaths of innocent Americans, but rather those rare moments when he isn't showered with love and adoration. For example, when people come after Homelander for accidentally killing innocent bystanders, we see the strongest man in America break down hard.
Kylo Ren has been spotted.
Of course, Homelander isn't alone when it comes to virtue signaling and patriotism. Vox is arguably just as bad. On one hand, the company churns out pro-military ads like this one.
We're proud to fly alongside. And now we introduce horses.
That's right, man. Our new campaign, Saving America.
Sort of like that Captain Marvel ad, right? On the other hand, as Stormfront so rightly points out, it's all a farce.
Oh, FYI, not a real base.
See, like Homelander, Vought isn't interested in actual national security or supporting the troops. All they're interested in is those sweet, sweet military outfits.
This is our
And there's only one company that has the product to fight that.
And to that end, Vought does everything from blackmail sending senators to imprisoning and experimenting on innocent civilians with Compound V. Real good job keeping America safe. There's also a kind of Christian virtue signaling. You know, pastors who get rich and famous for signaling to the world how much they love Jesus, even if they're sleazebags.
Hey, the getaway.
Now he's the meat and the mandarin.
Like that. And finally, there's what I call authenticity signaling, which is all about broadcasting how real you are, as best embodied by Stormfront.
Be a bitch if you want. Be whatever. Just drop the mask once in a while. Feels good.
Of course, her persona is also carefully crafted, meant to rile up her base for her own gross ends. But because she defines herself in opposition to her squeaky clean heroes, her own performance of realness finds the central audience.
I think Homelander and Maeve are gonna eat MREs and dip with the rest of the crowd.
Yeah, I will film it.
With all this virtue signaling coming from both the left and right, from individuals to corporations, you might be asking yourself one simple question. How the f did we get here? The virtue signaling, even if it wasn't called that, is quite old. They even complain about it in the Bible, when Jesus said you needed to shut up on Facebook about buying Starbucks. So, I'm paraphrasing, that's basically insane. But our current virtue signaling hellscape may be, at least partially, the result of one industry, public relations, or PR. Ever since Ivy Lee, the founder of modern PR, first repaired the Rockefeller family's robber baron image through heavily slanted press releases and a highly choreographed sympathy tours of Colorado, the world wised up to the fact that a little positive publicity goes a long way. Of course, people maligned Lee as a hired slanderer and poisoner of public opinion. And maybe they had a point. Because here's the messed up thing, Wisecrack. 100 years ago, Lee opened up the floodgates, and now the field of positive spin can be used to rehabilitate the image of just about anyone or anything. And that's where things should be. To see what I mean, let's look at the messed up journey of the guy you love to hate, the Deep, aka Aquaman Executive Sexual Assault. After being booted from the Seven for sexually assaulting Starlight, the Deep spirals hard, eventually getting some time in the Clanker for commandeering a kid's water.
Big water's supposed to be fun. Try swimming in the Mariana Trench, you little idiots.
When he's bailed out, though, it's by the Church of the Collector, who, in exchange for his bank account, agree to do some serious PR work to get him back into the Seven. To that end, the church makes the Deep appear in some seriously cheesy infomercials, and even focused as a white person.
Headbucket Phasma just entered the fray.
Now, the running joke of the season is how truly pathetic the Deep is, and how willing he is to go along with PR voice that presents such a patently false image. But underneath the humor, you have to realize how fundamentally screwed up all this is. Through the persuasive dark arts of PR, the Deep, a repeat sexual offender and all-around, nearly regains his position in the most prestigious paramilitary organization
I told you the
in the world.
first order would swing today. Goodbye, Craig. Let's get out of here.
But she's a sweetheart.
But if you think it's terrifying that PR can rehabilitate a piece of shit like the Deep, then you're going to love this next one.